Go ahead. Are we live? Come on, I can see you guys. You've got to dance. We're back. It's Wednesday. Show day, game day. We're so excited you're all here. I'm Jen Rubens, and we have a wonderful book buzz for you this morning. We brought the coffee and the books, and I hope you brought the coffee and are excited to hear about the books. Just a quick note before we dive in and introduce some new faces. Well, maybe not new to you, but new to the buzz. Just a quick note, we have a hashtag. It's PRH Morning Buzz. So we hope you use it. We've already been checking out some comments this morning, and we're incredibly flattered that you are looking forward to today, because we certainly are. It's like the only reason I have a hairbrush anymore for Wednesday at 11 o'clock in the morning. Our key is there on the slide. HC is for hardcover, TR is for trade paperback, LP is for large print, ebook is for, guess, anyone? Electronic book. Alexa wanted to answer in my house. Oh, God. The E symbol is new. This is the eGalley. That means the eGalley is available. AD is audio download, and CD is compact disc. So without further ado, let's introduce our lovely panelists. Today, as I said, I'm Jennifer Rubens, and let's introduce some new faces to the buzz.
Hi, everyone. It's Miriam Tuliao here from Astoria, Queens.
And Miriam, I think we can't see you. Do you have your video turned off?
Apologies.
That's
Hi
okay.
there.
Miriam
Tuliao.
It's like a big reveal. The curtain just went up. There she is. Hi, Miriam.
Hi there.
Hi, everyone. I'm Chelsea Good.
Hello, I am Sydney Check, and I'm coming from California today.
I know, we're spread out all over the place. Yeah, Chelsea, you're in
I'm in
Pennsylvania.
Yep.
I'm in Brooklyn. And Miriam, we're kind of neighbors at the moment. We're the closest. So I thought, because we have two newbies to the panel, we can't get going without inviting them to join our pop quiz. Don't hate me. I had to have a disclaimer. I'm very scared that when we get back together in person, you're going to be like, damn you in that purple hat. Okay, so let's kick it off. And we want you to get involved at home. The hashtag, like I said, PRH Morning Buzz, we want to hear your answers too. So I am going to ask the question to all of you. Let's start with you, Sydney. What is one song on your go-to work from home playlist?
Ooh. Can that be an album? Is that too much?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not that, not that hard to judge.
All right. I really like country music, so Sam Hunt has a new album out that I've been really enjoying. It's been making me feel very happy. It feels like it's sunny all the time, even when it's not. So that's great.
So you are in California, but
yeah. It's raining
awesome.
today. Yeah.
Miriam, what about you?
I really enjoy sitar music. So Anushka Shankar, who is the daughter of Ravi Shankar, has this wonderful piece called Traveler that's full of energy and love. It's just gorgeous.
I have to take notes. I feel like I should be writing all these down to update my own playlist. Last but not least, Chelsea, what's your go-to?
My go-to recently has been, Spotify has those like daily mixes.
Yeah.
And mine has been like a Fleetwood Mac, Neil Young type mix that I've been very much enjoying.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like it. I've had like a 90s nostalgia thing going on lately because Fiona Apple just came out with a new album.
Yeah,
so I've been listening to that a lot. And then also for some reason revisiting Alanis Morissette. And I don't know if it's being in quarantine. I'm like, let me pretend I'm back in high school. Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that with me. I love updating my own playlist. And now we'll head on to update some of your book-related playlists with some new resources.
Yes, so although many libraries are physically closed, we know that staff are expanding their patron outreach through services such as the extension of online renewals and the provision of really robust virtual programs. And we hope to make things a little easier for you by offering a large number of digital resources, such as book club brochures with recommended titles and suggested questions, digital excerpt samplers, storytime videos, audiobook downloads, and also podcasts and Spanish language content. And with remote learning now part of the new normal, the virtual library is functioning as a third space for many students and teachers and parents. And libraries are expanding their ebook collections to support at-home learning. And staff are busily curating these offerings in multiple formats in order to support different learning styles. So we've had a number of library staff requests for ebook test prep titles like subject reviews and practice exams of common standardized tests such as the AP tests like AP Biology, SAT, the GED, and the GRE, in addition to vocational exam test guides for nursing and the armed forces. So for your reference, we've prepared a list of current and forthcoming test prep guides in both the print and e-formats.
Fantastic. And now some virtual author events happening this week.
Yes. Yeah, everyone at Penguin Random House is working really hard to bring our authors to you and your patrons. And here is just a sampling of some of the many virtual author events that you can watch this week. And you can also check out the updated schedule. It's updated every single day. It's the link on the screen, prh.com/booksconnectuslive. And you can also find archived videos here, so in case you missed a live event, you can watch it at your convenience.
I've been very thankful for that. There's so much amazing content happening all the time now, I feel like, that I want to see all of it.
Yeah, you can catch up whenever you like, yeah.
prh.com/booksconnectus. Oh my gosh, did you guys know that this was coming? I figured we want to get to know you a little bit better in some more fun ways before we get to the book. So one more pop quiz. And let's see, this is really a pop quiz, guys. I'm literally just picking from this hat. Okay. If you could reread any book or audiobook this week, what would you pick? Miriam, let's start with you.
I'm actually currently rereading Mia Alvar's short story collection. I think it's called In the Country. It's basically about the Filipino diaspora, and it's a really moving short story collection that has the heart tug of Jhumpa Lahiri's first short story collection many moons ago. I'm finding that short stories, I only have the attention span and for short stories I can only at this point really connect to small heartful pieces.
That makes sense. I feel that way too. What was the name of that again? In the Country?
I believe so. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I put you on the spot. It's a true pop quiz.
Yeah, but
I want to write it down.
Yeah, it takes place all over the globe, the Middle East, North America, and it tells the story of various people, nurses, working people, all trying to pursue their dreams and also provide for people at home in the Philippines.
Oh, and that sounds really appropriate for right now too, especially, I think. Sydney, what about you?
I have to go for Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. That is my favorite, one of my favorite books of all time. It's my favorite of the series. I've been reading a lot of YA during this time. I just finished American Royals, and I feel like a Harry Potter would be a great one to jump back into. I try to read them like every couple of years anyway. So, yeah, definitely that one. All the dragons.
And Chelsea, last but not least, I saved you for last again. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the pressure. I think I would want to see. Oh,
sorry. My music cue is off.
That's okay. It's my theme music. I like it. I think I'd want to. I read A Gentleman in Moscow, a few years ago when it first came out, but I think I've never listened to it. So I think I would love to listen to that one. Really escape into someone in a similar situation, but in kind of a more exotic location than Pennsylvania. So
that would be great. Nicholas Guy Smith reads the audiobook, and he is fantastic. He's got such a beautiful voice. I highly recommend. And I'm revisiting an old one that's a kid's book because my son is obsessed with jam. Like, he wants to put jam on everything. Oh. So I remembered I have this book called No Bread and Jam for Francis, where this little animal wants to only eat jam on everything, and so I'm introducing that to him, and I remember reading that as a kid, so that's been fun. All right, so now on to the actual book buzz. We've kept you waiting, but we wanted to have a little fun this morning, and so I am ready for some beach reads. Take it away.
Beach read, who wouldn't want to be lying on a beach right now? I know that's where I would prefer to be, but we'll have to settle for some beach reads that will take us away. So first up, let's escape to a world of glitz and glamour with Kevin Klon's Sex and Vanity. The iconic author of the best-selling phenomenon Crazy Rich Asians returns with the glittering tale of a young woman who finds herself torn between two men, the waspy fiancé of her family's dreams, and George Zhao, the man she is desperately trying to avoid falling in love with. Moving between summer playgrounds of privilege, peppered with decadent food and extravagant fashion, Sex and Vanity is a truly modern love story, a daring homage to A Room with a View, and a brilliantly funny comedy of manners set between two cultures.
And just to interject quickly, we all have to speak loudly for some of the comments out there. So, microphones up.
My microphone, yes. And now off to Singapore for Lauren Ho's Last Tang Standing. This is Crazy Rich Asian meets Bridget Jones' Diary in this funny and irresistible debut novel about the pursuit of happiness, surviving one's 30s intact, and opening oneself up to love. Ho's witty narrative voice, relatable characters, devastatingly self-aware observations about modern life, and juicy love triangles makes Last Tang Standing perfect for the beach or, your couch and a glass of wine. The next we'll fly off to Europe for Jen McKinley's Paris is Always a Good Idea. In this hilarious and heartfelt novel, a 30-year-old woman retraces her gap year through Ireland, France, and Italy. Along the way, she finds the men she fell for during that year, Colin in Ireland, Jean-Claude in France, and Marcellino in Italy, hoping that one of these three men who stole her heart so many years ago can help her find it again. And this is perfect for fans of Kristen Higgins and Jasmine Guillory. And then for our next trip, it's a quick trip to, for our next book, it's a quick trip to the picturesque Maine coast. From best-selling author Holly Chamberlain, All Our Summers is a heartfelt story of family bonds and new beginnings when the prodigal eldest daughter returns to the homestead that the younger sister spent her entire life caring for, not bitterly at all. It will take an extraordinary summer to lead these women back together, buoyed by the tides of friendship and forgiveness. And finally, we make our way to Nantucket for our last book. One life-changing summer on Nantucket brings about exhilarating revelations for a single mother and her two grown children in Girls of Summer, the sensational new novel from the New York Times bestselling author. Nancy Thayer dazzles again in this delightful tale of family, a reminder that sometimes finding our way back home can bring us unexpected gifts.
And before we move on to the next slide, just to add, and I know I'm probably preaching to the choir, so I don't have to sell audiobooks to any of you listening, but just a reminder why audiobooks are so great for beach reading. You don't have to squint while you read. You can fully have on the sunglasses and listen and look at the ocean at the same time, or out the window from your couch while you wear a bathing suit inside. I don't know. I'm not wearing a bathing suit, but you won't get suntan lotion on your beloved library book, right? Or your Kindle. And you can jog on the beach or in place in your house while listening. And you can have a cocktail in one hand and an ice cream cone in the other and still listen to an audiobook. So just a few reasons that you might want to check out the audio edition or recommend them to your patrons. I have to give a plug to Kevin Kwan on audio. They are such fun. And Lydia Look is back for Sex and Vanity. She read China Rich Girlfriend and Rich People Problems. Booklist said about her, I love this, they said the scrumptious excess here gains from Look's deadpan narrative. Translations of dialect spoken in hushed asides ensure full appreciation of this Jet Set spoof. So it's really fun to listen to his stuff on audio and have that little bit of an opinionated take on all the characters through the narrator is really fun. And Last Tank Standing will be read by Catherine Ho. That was just announced, and then we've yet to announce readers for the other ones, but I did, in honor of this slide, I don't know if you can tell, I wore my Paris shirt, not actually from Paris, but it's making me feel today like I would love to think about Paris. But Jen McKinley, of course, was one of the best, one of your favorite books set in a bookstore or library. Her Library Lovers Mystery Series was on that list, so we're really excited to hear from her again. So I'm ready for the beach. Thanks, Chelsea.
Me too. All right, next up, we're going to talk about some literary fiction titles, and we're going to begin with The Butterfly Lampshade. This is Amy Bender's first novel in 10 years, and you may recognize her from her beloved New York Times bestseller, The Particular Sadness of Lemon Cake. The Butterfly Lampshade is a luminous, poignant tale of a mother, a daughter, a mental illness, and the fluctuating barriers between the mind and the world. The Wall Street Journal remarks the fairy tale elements in her writing, far from seeming outlandish, highlight the everyday nature of her characters' flaws and struggles. In Miss Bender's stories and novels, relationships and mundane activities take on mythic qualities. All right, and now we have the All Night Sun by Diane Zinna, where a lonely young woman gets too close to her charismatic female student in a propulsive debut, culminating in a dangerously debauched Midsummer's Eve for readers of Julie Buntin's Marlena and Emily Fridlund's History of Wolves. And this is for all you armchair travelers, because Zinna transports us to the magical Swedish landscape, from the forests and rolling hills of Olofstorp in the countryside to the colorful, vibrant city of Stockholm. And I also absolutely just love this cover. It's so beautiful, and I'm very excited to read it. I was just thinking the same thing.
Yeah. I'm going to hang that in my house.
I know. It's like a piece of art in itself. Named a National Book Foundation 5 Under 35 honoree, Tracy O'Neill is back with her second novel, Quotients. Here we meet Jeremy Jordan and Alexandra Chen, who hope to make a quiet home together, but struggle to find a space safe from their personal secrets. In a culture of limitless surveillance, Jeremy and Alexandra will go to great lengths to protect what is closest to them. Spanning decades and continents, their saga brings them into contact with the down-and-out online journalist, shadowy security professionals, and jockeying technology experts, each of whom has a different understanding of whether information really protects us and how we might build a world worth trusting in our paranoid age. Next up, you may recognize Akwaeke Emezi as the author of the internationally acclaimed title Freshwater that made BuzzFeed's 24 Best Books of the Decade. She's back with a new novel entitled The Death of Vivek Oji, which takes the complex and nuanced vision of identity and multiple consciousnesses, that's not the correct pronunciation, alas, first explored in Freshwater, and applies it to a story that is far more direct and fueled by a deeply compelling mystery that unfolds over the course of the novel, leading to a breathtaking final image. And lastly, we have the introduction of a major new talent, Jenny McFarland, with her debut novel, The House of Deep Water. Perfect for fans of The Mothers and Olive Kitteridge, three women learn what it means to come home and to make peace with family, love affairs, and memories they'd once left behind. While McFarland is telling a page-turning family story first and foremost, she's also in conversation with the Me Too and Black Lives Matter movements, drawing heavily from her own childhood as one of the few people of color in a small Michigan farm town. This is a title that diverse book clubs surely won't want to miss.
And I have to add in, I want to give a shout out. We don't have it up on the slide, but the author of The Death of Vivek Oji also is the author of Pet, which was a fantastic award-winning YA novel and audiobook read by Christopher Myers. Yes, the Christopher Myers, son of Walter Dean. So I just want to point that out as well, because it's a fabulous, and I think a great crossover listen, both for teens and I think adults can really enjoy it as well. So that's called Pet, and it's available. You can listen to a clip on booksontape.com. And then I wanted to also announce, I just found out The House of Deep Water is going to be a multi-narrator audiobook. It's going to be read by Allison Johnson, Adenrele Ojo, Jonathan McLean, and Andrew Iden. So if you're a fan of big cast-read audiobooks, then that would be a fun one to listen to. And also, I'm just so excited Amy Bender is back. She was one of the first author-read audiobooks of a fiction novel I think I ever heard, because The Particular Sadness of Lemon Cake is read by her, but came out, many, many years ago. And that cover has always stuck with me, and it always makes me hungry. But I'm really excited for this one. And speaking of, Miriam, you mentioned short stories before, and I want to remind everyone she also has a short story collection called The Color Master, which could be a really wonderful backlist title to recommend. It's available read by a full cast on audio, and also hopefully available in your ebook and print collections. But that's another one, if the holds are high, for the Butterfly Lampshade, to remind patrons about The Color Master too.
We also have some exciting new historical fiction titles to share that represent a wide array of time periods and places and characters. The first one being The Lions of Fifth Avenue by best-selling author and Library Reads Hall of Famer Fiona Davis. And in this historical mystery, a series of book thefts roils the iconic New York Public Library, leaving two generations of strong-willed women to pick up the pieces. It's 1913, and Laura Lyons couldn't ask for more out of her life. Her husband is the superintendent of the New York Public Library, allowing their family to live in an apartment within the grand building. But headstrong and ambitious, Laura wants more, and she takes a leap of faith and decides to apply to the Columbia Journalism School, and there her world is cracked wide open. Soon she discovers a suffragette group in Greenwich Village and begins questioning her traditional role as wife and mother. But when valuable books are stolen back at the library, this threatens her home and the institution that she loves, so she's forced to confront her shifting priorities head on. 80 years later, in 1993, Sadie Donovan struggles with the legacy of her grandmother, the famous essayist Laura Lyons, especially after she's wrangled her dream job as a curator at the New York Public Library. But the job quickly becomes a nightmare when rare manuscripts from the library's famous bird collections disappear. And when she teams up with a private security team to uncover the culprit, the investigation leads Sadie to some unwelcome truths about her own family heritage, truths that shed new light on the biggest tragedy in the library's history. We also have a really exciting debut title by Margot Deroux, The Lost Diary of Venice. And here we have two love stories that are connected by one artistic legacy. This is a richly debuted novel, detailed novel that meshes two worlds, the mysteries of the late Renaissance Venice and the dramas of present-day America. Atomic Love by Jenny Fields is a perfect recommendation for readers of Martha Hall Kelly and Melanie Benjamin. It's set in Chicago, 1950s, and Rosalind Porter is a physicist on the Manhattan Project, and she has a passionate love affair with a colleague, Thomas Weaver. But when Thomas is suspected of passing nuclear secrets to Russia, Rosalind must choose between love and betrayal. This is a title that is much praised by Anne Patchett, who praises it, the novel, for its beautiful writing and its heroine, who carves a strong path in the world of men. Codename Helene is by the New York Times bestselling author of I Was Anastasia. It's based on the thrilling real-life story of socialite spy Nancy Wake, and this is a spellbinding novel that features an astonishing woman who went on to become one of the most decorated women in World War II. There's a love story tangled in there, and it's a moving one that touches on sacrifice and heroism. 3 Hours in Paris is by Cara Black, the New York Times bestselling author of the Amy Leduc investigations and the doyenne of Parisian crime novels. Here she brings occupation era France to life in a gripping story about one young woman with the temerity and drive to take on Hitler himself. The female sharpshooter protagonist is inspired by a real life Soviet sniper, Ludmila Pavlichenko, and this is a pulse pounding spy thriller. Certainly, these are titles that will give your readers rich opportunities to travel through time and space.
I love that. I'm so excited about all of these. I have an unplanned pop quiz, but speaking of the lions of Fifth Avenue, has anyone here ever dressed up like a lion from the New York Public Library? Oh my gosh. Miriam is famous for this. It's so great. On library card sign up, during library card sign up month, we did an event at Penguin Random House, and Miriam, being the rock star she is, dressed up like, do you know if you were Fortitude or Patience? Do you know?
Patience, yeah.
Oh.
Patience is my alter ego.
Oh my gosh. Well, that seems like so lovely. My son's actually obsessed with the lions outside the public library, and when they were under renovation for like 9 weeks last year, I had to make sure we didn't walk by the library because I think he would have been horrified to be like, where did the lions go? Or the roars. He calls them the roars outside the library. But I'm so excited about Fiona Davis. I turned around as you were talking and I'm like, oh, I have one of her books on my shelf. I adore her. And this just sounds so fabulous. I don't know who's reading the audio yet, but I'm sure it'll be someone amazing. I do know The Lost Diary of Venice is going to be read on audio by Lisa Flanagan, and Codename Helene is read by Barry Kranick and Peter Ganem. And I just think, you know, there's something especially almost educational sometimes about listening to the audio version of historical fiction, because you really get all the pronunciations. You get to really feel like you're being whisked away to another country or time, as you put it so beautifully. And I'm doing my own armchair travel today. I realized that you can see my bookshelf. So I'm like, where can I take you? So I'm not in San Francisco, but I set a bridge up so we could get to travel together. But these are all just wonderful titles. And thanks for telling us about them, Miriam.
Thank you.
Okay, so who else is excited for the Hulu adaptation of Sally Rooney's Normal People?
I am.
Premiering today, so, you know, I know exactly what I'm going to be doing at 5 p.m. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with Normal People, but as one of the most acclaimed and beloved novels of 2019, Normal People tells the story of Connell and Marianne, two Irish teens growing up in the same small town in very different social and economic classes. But despite their differences, there is something between them, and they begin a secret relationship. Normal People is the story of mutual fascination, friendship, and love. It takes us from that first conversation between Connell and Marianne to the years beyond in the company of two people who try to stay apart but find that they just can't. And speaking of books involving secret romances, in The Margot Affair, the secret daughter of a French politician and a famous actress drops the startling revelation that will shatter her family in this beguiling debut novel of intrigue and betrayal. Exposing the seams between private lives and public faces, The Margot Affair is a novel of deceit, desire, and transgression, and the exhilarating knife edge upon which the danger of telling the truth outweighs the cost of keeping secrets. And next we have Catherine Haney's short story collection, Single, Carefree, and Mellow. A superbly accomplished, endlessly entertaining, and laugh-out-loud funny story collection about commitment-averse women for whom falling in love is never easy and always inconvenient. This is perfect for fans of Adele Waldman's love affairs of Nathaniel P., Lori Moore, and Jennifer Close. And this is one of my favorite short story collections of all time. So, Miriam, if you're interested, I would definitely check it out. And then next we have White Fur, a stunning story about two star-crossed lovers set against the glitz and grit of 1980s New York City. White Fur combines the electricity of Less Than Zero with the timeless intensity of Romeo and Juliet in this searing, gorgeously written novel that perfectly captures the ferocity of young love. I would say this has a very similar kind of, highs and lows of the relationship between Marianne and Connell. So it's very like similar type of push and pull kind of love. And then finally, we have Curtis Sittenfeld's short story collection, You Think It, I'll Say It. In 10 stories, Sittenfeld upends assumptions about class, relationships, and gender roles in a nation that feels both adrift and viscerally divided.
Got it.
Oh, you got through it. You got through it.
With moving insight and uncanny precision, Curtis Sittenfeld pinpoints the questionable decisions, misconnections, and sometimes extraordinary coincidences that make up a life.
And I'm going to tell a dorky publishing person story because why not? But I have and it's true, when my book club in the neighborhood, I met them. It was like a new mom book club, and I'd never been in a book club before, and I didn't know them very well. So they didn't know that I worked in publishing. And we read Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney. And a lot of people had a lot of issues. They were really judging the main character and felt like they were just, that whole likable narrator conversation came up. And I was like, can I play a clip from the audiobook? And I took out my cell phone and I put it on the coffee table and I played a clip. And the conversation that came out of that and the way that people's perceptions changed a little bit was eerily amazing. And I was like, oh my God, this actually worked, because nobody had realized that she was sort of telling it as her older self looking back at some of the decisions she had made as a younger person. And I think also hearing the Irish accent brought it to life to people in a different way. And they kind of took it out of themselves a little bit more and really were able to connect with this character and where she was coming from. And it really enriched the conversation. So I highly recommend, even if people haven't read the audiobook for a book club, it's really fun to just play a clip and see what kinds of conversations that sparks. And I have to give a shout out, that being said, Aoife McMahon is amazing. She reads Normal People and Conversations with Friends, and she got an Audiophile Earphones Award for Normal People. They said she's a skillful actor with a gorgeous Irish accent, and she makes each personality idiosyncratic and believable and perfectly captures their confusion at being young and emotionally innocent. And I think like Chelsea's so excited for this TV series, and so am I. Like, we're so eager. We felt so connected to them and the push and pull and all of the drama, that to have it come to life in a dramatic way through an actor is really fun. And also to add on here, Single Carefree Mellow is read by 4 of my favorite female narrators, I've got to say: Cassandra Campbell, Rebecca Lohman, Emily Rankin, and Julia Whalen. So if you want to revisit that one, or if you missed it years ago, fabulous cast on that. And then You Think It, I'll Say It was an Audie nominee for Best Short Story Collection a couple of years ago, and that's read by Emily Rankin and Mark Deakins. It got a starred review from Library Journal. They said the collection is exquisitely narrated, superbly narrated, standout collection of short stories with mass appeal. And I think we're noticing, almost by accident, this short story theme, if that's really easier for people right now to take a break and read a short story. We have so many great suggestions there. So I know I feel like that'll be easy for me to dive in later tonight to just pick a short story and relax a little bit after I watch Normal People, obviously. Okay.
All right, the time has come to talk about the birds and the bees.
Uh-oh.
This section is for you if you're a bird watcher, an apiarist. But I would like to start off with a little joke. Hey, Jen, what bird movie won an Oscar?
Oh my gosh, I see a Sydney bird. Who's going to tell me all about these birds?
Oh, Lord of the Wings.
I love it.
Anyway. We're going to begin with the genius of with the Birdway, and then Jennifer Ackerman is the New York Times best-selling author of The Genius of Birds, who came out with a new title called The Birdway, which is a radical investigation into the bird way of being and the recent scientific research that is dramatically shifting our understanding of birds, how they live, and how they think. Drawing on personal observations, the latest science, and her bird-related travel around the world, Ackerman shows there is clearly no single bird way of being. In every respect, in plumage, form, song, flight, lifestyle, niche, behavior, birds vary. It's what we love about them. As E.O. Wilson once said, when you have seen one bird, you have not seen them all. Moving on, National Geographic is back with its second edition of The Backyard Guide to the Birds of North America. With all the time looking at nature through your window, have you noticed more birds but never knew what kind they were? Not to fret, this guide is geared to the casual and experienced birdwatcher alike. This completely revised guide to 150 of the most common and interesting birds in North America provides the perfect way to appreciate the feathered friends outside your window, along with the tools you need to cultivate them wherever you live. What it's like to be a bird is a book for birders and non-birders alike that will excite and inspire by providing a new and deeper understanding of what common, mostly backyard birds are doing and why. And while the text is aimed at adults, including fascinating new scientific research on the myriad ways birds have adapted to environmental changes, it is non-technical, making it the perfect occasion for parents and grandparents to share their love of birds with young children who will delight in the big, full-color illustrations of birds in action. Now on to the bees. We have Honey and Venom by Andre Cote. Depicts a year in the life of New York City's premier beekeeper who charmingly chronicles his adventures and the quirky personalities he encounters while spreading his infinite knowledge of and passion for the remarkable honey bee. This title is certainly buzz-worthy, and Cote is known as one of the industry legends by New York Times writer Mark Bittman. Lastly, we have A Honeybee Heart Has 5 Openings by Helen Jukes, which is an inspiring up-close portrait of beekeeping, a year of living dangerously, observing and capturing the wondrous, complex ecosystem of honeybees and their hive, and the emotional, spiritual transformation that changed the way the author sees and is in the world. This unbelievable memoir delves into the history of beekeeping and writes about discovering the ancient, complex, sometimes disturbing relationship between keeper and bee, human and wild thing.
Wow. And so you didn't admit this, but don't you hate birds?
Oh, I have a terrifying fear of birds. But I was brave today, and thank you for letting me be in this comfy space.
I mean,
to share that with you all.
Do you hear my bird sound? Is that coming
no,
through?
That's not. I do.
Well, I really appreciated the pun.
Block it out.
Yeah.
Well, I recently learned from all the dinosaur books I'm reading that birds are kind of like dinosaurs that didn't become extinct. So that explains why you might have a natural fear of birds. So
yeah.
I'm not judging you. I'm not a huge bird fan, but sorry if anyone has birds out there. We love you.
We appreciate you.
We do. I could just add for this, the Birdway is going to be read by the author, so we can't wait to look for that. Oh, you could listen to an audiobook while you birdwatch.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. Honey and Venom will also be read by the author, and A Honeybee Heart Has 5 Openings is read by Mandy Williams. So we are looking forward to all of these Birds and the Bees books.
We want to share with you and highlight some of the Spanish language books that are available now. La Casa de Algún Dia, The One Day House, is a 2018 Ezra Jack Keats Award Illustrator Honor Award-winning picture book by Julia Durango and Bianca Diaz. It's really lovely because it involves a young boy who organizes volunteers in the community to help fix an elderly woman's house. It's really, really touching and a moving picture book to share. Juliet Takes a Breath, or Juliet Respira Profundo, by Gabby Rivera, is a YA coming-of-age story about a self-proclaimed closeted Puerto Rican baby dyke from the Bronx. And it's a great read to share, a wonderful story to share with folks. Historia is a work of nonfiction. It functions as a visual dictionary that would certainly support at-home learning. It's a travel through time and history, places. It covers inventions, people, places throughout history. very visually rich, DK title. We also have Todos los Cuentos, 41 Essential Tales by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, the Nobel Prize winner, as well as a work of a collection of myths and folklore, ancient myths of Mexico by David Bowles. This is Feathered Serpent, Dark Heart of Sky, a work of nonfiction that will be of interest to readers of mythology and folklore. And finally, a memoir by social activist Julissa Arce, who talks about her childhood in Texas and her fight to achieve the American dream, even though she is undocumented. So there really is a rich assortment of titles here for readers of all ages, which we hope that you'll share with readers in your community. Also would like to share the latest Libros en Español spring catalog, which features works of fiction and nonfiction and reference works of fiction across all genres, a full listing of titles, backlist and front list, up through the spring of 2020. It works in Spanish.
And I wanted to add on, we went through so many incredible different categories today. And I wanted to add in some kids' audio titles to that list because I think there's a lot of demand for that, especially from families who are at home together right now. My beach listen picks for middle grade, I would say the Welcome to Wonderland series by our friend Chris Grabenstein, who's a huge audiobook listener and writes such fun escape tales and adventures. And Welcome to Wonderland is read by Brian Kennedy. Booklist said it's nonstop action, hijinks, and hilarity. Kennedy is the perfect fit for this production as his wide range of comedic voices capture the wacky cast of characters, and his fast pace and high energy pack a punch. I have had so much fun as an adult going through this series. I really love it. And I think that would be a really fun one. And there are 4 out already. So that's the perfect thing to introduce to kids right now, because if they fall in love with it, you can keep recommending the other ones in the series and they don't have to wait a year anymore. And then The Prom, how cool is this? This audiobook features members of the original Broadway cast. So if you're not familiar, this was a huge hit. It started off Broadway, then it went to Broadway, and all of the actors who were involved with the show really started with it from the beginning and workshopped it. So the fact that we now have been able to preserve their performances on an audiobook is incredibly cool. It has Caitlin McKinnon, Isabel McCullough, Beth Level, oh my gosh, I don't want to say her name wrong, I'm a huge fan. Joshua Lamon and audiobook narrator Tara Sands. And there's also an interview with the musical's creative team on this audiobook. So super special, great way to jump into the theater that we're missing so dearly right now. And it's great for YA and adults too. In the literary fiction category that we talked about, my pick's Poemsia by the incredibly popular poet Lang Liev. This was her first novel for YA, and it's read by Saskia Marleveld, and highly recommend. I think especially when a poet writes, even though it's her novel, it's just such beautiful language, and to have it read to you by a professional is just a really wonderful, beautiful experience. Echo Mountain is by Newbery Honor winner Lauren Woke. It's read by Holly Linneman. Booklist absolutely loved this audiobook. They said, find my notes here. With heartfelt emotion, narrator Holly Linneman helps contemporary listeners relate to 12-year-old Ellie. And I really thought this was a good one for right now, especially Booklist put it so beautifully. They said that with empathetic portrayals of each character, Linneman creates a powerful portrait of community, responsibility, and strength in a time of crisis. So I think especially bringing up important conversations with teenagers and middle grade listeners right now, this could be a really powerful one to talk about together. Historical fiction, Steve Shankin's incredible. He's hugely well known for his beautiful narrative nonfiction, but this is a time twister series. He has a little bit of fun with all of the amazing history that he's able to write about. It's read by Mark Thompson, who, if you're a Star Wars fan, you know that he is an incredible narrator, does voices like no one I've ever heard, and he brings these to life in such a fun way. So the latest one that came out last fall was Amelia Earhart and the Flying Chariot. This is another series, so I highly recommend the audio of the Time Twister series by Steve Shankin. And then I've certainly been in like a Little Women, you know, like I can't get enough Little Women after seeing the movie in December. And so I'm not alone in that. We have the new historical fiction YA by Margaret Stoll and Melissa de la Cruz, Joe and Lori. I'm all in for this, and it's read by Cassandra Campbell. And then on to the birds and the bees. We took it a little bit literally and talked about birds and the bees. So on that note, Be Fearless. This sounds incredible. This is coming in August. It's by, I want to read a little bit about her because I didn't know about her until I heard this title presented. It's a middle grade memoir from a 15-year-old lemonade entrepreneur, and she was one of Time Magazine's top 30 most influential teens. Like, how incredible is that? What have I been doing? She shares her advice for life and business. When she was 4, she was stung by a bee twice in 1 week. That sounds terrible. She was terrified of going outside. I would be too. And her parents encouraged her to learn more about bees so she wouldn't be afraid. And it worked. And then she went on to learn about what an important role bees play in our ecosystem. And then she set out to save them. I mean, it's incredible. I hope she reads the audiobook, but I definitely wanted to put this on your radar. And then a little, you know, less literal and more what you think of when you hear the birds and the bees. I had to point out, and this is a backlist title, Hello Flo, the Guide, period. I think this is a really important audiobook to offer to teens out there. It's read by Saskia Marleveld. This is from the founder of Hello Flo. It's a modern and insightful guide to periods and puberty for a new generation. It's honest, it's funny, unafraid of the messy real life facts, and I think there's something really important about empowering young people, and especially making the audiobook available. They can listen, you know, in private. No one has to know what they're listening to. Not that there should be any shame if they were reading the book, but I think it's just a really great one for your list for the birds and the bees, and for teenagers to, or not teenagers, but more like tween, preteen, to be able to feel a little bit empowered and educated on life and our bodies. So I think that's a really important one to add to our list. And then last week we asked you about sunshine stories. So the results are in. Here were some of the books and audiobooks that make you the happiest. Sydney, I know you went through the list and you were like amazed that there were so few overlaps. Everybody had really diverse picks.
Yeah, it was great. I loved it. It was so nice to see such diversity amongst genre and fiction, nonfiction, humor. I don't know. It was great. I loved it. So it was very fun reading through all the tweets and the responses in the survey and everything. It brings me sunshine going through them.
Oh, I know. We're so thankful. Thank you for using the hashtag PRH Morning Buzz and indulging us with sharing all these wonderful answers and doing the survey. We'll have another survey at the end of this one. I have to give a shout out. I see the Alan Bradley audio series made the list, and Jane Entwistle rocks that narration like no other. It's so much fun playing. She plays the 11-year-old Flavia Duluth. That's a really fun one. And there are 10 in the series now that you can dive into. Anyone else have a favorite from this slide that they love?
Running with Sherman is really a great book. It sort of it really transports you, and it also connects you with the whole idea of animals and humans, that interaction, that love. It's great.
I just want to pet Sherman. I wish I could. I don't have a pet, but he looks so cute. And that's almost it for today. I did have one final question of the day, but actually it's not for you guys. It's for our fabulous audience. Thank you for tuning in. So here it is. We want to know, dun, 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 next slide. In honor of Mother's Day, who is your favorite mother in literature? So again, you can answer us on PRH Morning Buzz using the hashtag or you can answer the survey that you'll get at the end of this. And we want to thank you again for filling out that survey and telling us what you need, what you love, what you don't love, what is working for you, because this is for you. We couldn't do this without you and your attendance and your enthusiasm. So we thank you so much for joining us, and it's such a pleasure. Thanks to my panelists today. Did you have fun?
I did.
Yes.
So much fun.
And now I don't have my music cued anymore because I went to find bird sounds and then I got a little thrown off. So I guess bird sounds can play us out, right?
Sure.
So we hope you're enjoying your day and that it's a little bit brighter and full of books. Thanks to the Morning Buzz. We are so thankful to be able to be together at this time and talk about books with all of you and with each other. It's nice to see you. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.